Right, well, good evening, everybody. Doing a bit of a vlog here tonight because today I have been at the EGX event down in Birmingham at the NEC Arena with my mate Chris and his friends Rowan and Laura. We went down there because it's a day of industry insight, chance to play some of the most recent cutting-edge games, some classics and everything else. Short review. Well worth it. Very, very good day out. It had a lot from all the main manufacturers and the main console players. Nintendo were there with quite a few things for the Switch. Sony had loads of stuff, including the VR, the PS4 Pro, and a lot of the more recent games for both systems. Then Xbox had a ton of work there. Microsoft had the Xbox One X on demo, which I got to play. Yes, I did. In general, it was a very good event in that respect because there was a lot going on. There was a few YouTube celebrities there. The guys from Outside Xbox and PlayStation Access. PlayStation Access streamed all day. Outside Xbox did a couple of streams from the back, but also had a meet and greet. I ended up missing both of them, sadly. Outside Xbox, I missed the chance to meet with those guys purely because I was queuing for Forza 7. I wanted to play it actually having the full experience, so I had to wait longer than if I just used the console version, as in using the pad. More on that later. PlayStation Access guys were doing a meet and greet at the end of the day, but it was slightly delayed. So we were over at some indie developers, and by the time we got there, it was just impossible. But it would have been possible to meet, but we decided instead wasn't really gonna be enough time. So we just let those guys who were there queuing enjoy the moment, and we went off and played some arcade gaming. Yeah, I'll talk about that too. EGX was a huge event, absolutely colossal. I could not believe how much was there. The highlights for me was I got to play 3 sim racing games because they're my big thing. I've recently started playing Forza 4 again on a refurbished Xbox 360 and forgot just how much I enjoy those kind of games. Now, essentially, I've played today Project Cars 2 on PlayStation 4, Gran Turismo Sport on PlayStation 4 and Forza 7 on Xbox One X. Now, I can't do a direct comparison between all 3 games for one very simple reason. The Forza 7, we actually did it playing using a wheel rig. They had, I think it was a version of the Thrustmaster wheels. They had full racing rigs, which were actually in a very weird hybrid design. The casings were very much in the livery of the Porsche 919 that the Porsche manufacturers use in the World Endurance Championship, but they had a shape and body that was more similar to a Formula 1 car. Red Bull Porsche engine deal confirmed. You heard it here first. You didn't, but that's my prediction. Eddie Jordan beat me to by a couple of hours. I wanted to scoop. Anyway, that game was very cool. I'm not really sure the Xbox One X is the huge leap forward that it's being touted as. It had, whenever the game started, it said true native 4K gaming. It did not look much better than Gran Turismo Sport, which is not in native 4K. That's in upscaled from 1080p to, I don't know the specs. I'm not Digital Foundry and not Review Tech USA, so I can't say exactly what the specs are, but you get the gist of it. It's not 1080p, but it's a 4K upscale of it. The supposed native 4K of Forza 7 did not look much better. That's the main crux of the argument. Now, the wheel that we were playing on, I don't know if the game had been customised by Turn 10 and Microsoft for the demo to make it so that you had some kind of steering input, but the amount of times that me and my friend Chris, because we ended up in pods literally next to each other, so we actually played the scenario, which was a wet race at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit in the Nissan GTR LM GT car. GTR LM GT. Maybe, I'm not entirely sure. Essentially, anyway, these cars were fun to drive, but we found that we'd get through a corner and then we'd be going in a straight line, and if it started getting power slip, because of the rain, we'd be backing off, and the wheel would start turning by itself, so we'd have to really wrench the wheel to try and get it back under control. It was an absolute nightmare. I don't know if it was because of the kind of like the computer trying to say, no, I'm assisting you with steering, you will go this way, and I'm like, bugger off, the straight line's that way, or if they've really simulated very well the loss of control of the car. I don't know which it was. What I will say is I now know that those health readings I had on yesterday for my muscle grip being very low are true. Because my God, was that a workout trying to get that sorted. It was incredible. Good thing is that the game was, it looked nice compared to the Forza 4 I've been playing recently, and I played Forza 6 in a game once, so it does look a move forward from them. At the same time, though, a lot of the general things about those games still remain. It still has that constant unbroken line for racing line if you want it on or off. And it was very gorgeous and very nice. I don't think it was as good as Gran Turismo Sport. Gran Turismo Sport had a lot more feel to it. It felt a lot more natural. Now, don't forget, I was using a pad for that, so I don't know if I'd have had time to queue for the racing rig for that, I'll be able to give you a direct comparison. The racing rig queue for that was about 45 minutes. The Forza 7 one, we got there in about 20. The controller one, we got straight on. So rather than waste our day queuing for that, we thought we'd get a play and go elsewhere. So with hindsight, realistically, I should have done both, but jury's out on it. What I will say is that Gran Turismo Sport was a very smooth playing game. I thought the actual controls were a bit easier to pick up and play than the ones on Forza 4. I also like the fact that in Gran Turismo Sport it's done away with the dynamic line. And what it's got instead are Google Maps style markers that hang above the track. And the idea is that you can drive between the beacons, and that acts as a more natural way of seeing the line constantly. At the same time also, you get little warnings for when you should brake. Now, I found that they were a bit too early. We did the Brands Hatch GP race. It was like a GT class club. Both of us were in different cars. I went with a Chevrolet Corvette C7R for it. And I won the race. Yay! And more importantly, what I found was that it was much easier. I was able to brake a lot later than the computer, even when it was on the higher difficulty setting. But it had big grids of about 20 cars. I handled that without a problem. It didn't have any frame rate drops that I noticed. I also, as I say, the controls were more natural. And when driving in cockpit view, the Gran Turismo Sport one was a lot easier to see where you were, because the Forza one, they've tried to simulate having a full three-dimensional look around like this. And the problem with it was it didn't read the movements very well. Whereas with the Gran Turismo Sport, it was slightly more analog, so you could get a more little glance upwards like that to your rearview mirror or across to your wing mirrors a lot easier. But in general, both games are probably quite similar. Gran Turismo Sport for me felt the more natural to drive. It felt the more responsive. But again, I wasn't using a force feedback wheel, so I can't fully confirm. But what I will say is that the big disappointment of the day was Project Cars 2. Oh boy, was that a shocker. Now, while it's got more real-world tracks, like the Red Bull Ring in Austria is there, the Nürburgring GP is there, the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas is there, which I think is possibly the first time outside of the F1 series, unless it's appeared in a later Forza. Someone correct me on that in the comments. It's been a game. Oh, actually, I think it appeared in Grid Autosport. Actually, yes, I think Grid Autosport had the Circuit in Americas as well, so I probably corrected myself. Going back to the gameplay, the controls were not as easy to pick up as either Forza 7 or Gran Turismo Sport, and the physics felt awful. The cars were very, very unpredictable in the way they drove. We were driving the World Series by Renault cars, and sometimes you could drive it like an LMP1 car and literally just fling it into a bend and off you went. Other times you were spinning round, the way the traction seemed to spin out of things was totally inconsistent. The AI was horrendous. They braked 200 metres before corners. It was so bad. And the crash physics. Chris literally went like this to a car. It flipped over. He then hit a car from behind because, again, the computer braked 100 metres earlier. He didn't hit it hard. Bear in mind, he's hit it from behind. It took off like that. It's been hit from behind. Why would it take off like that? It's not like the Le Mans Mercedes CLK GTR in 1999 that literally got air and went upside down. This was a hit from behind. It wouldn't do that. It felt embarrassing compared to both GT Sport and Forza 7. I am definitely striking that off my list. I am not playing that game. It was horrible. So, in conclusion, between those three, what would I choose? Can't say. I don't have an Xbox One of any kind, so I can't play both side by side. I probably will get Gran Turismo Sport, because I've not had a Gran Turismo game new since number 4, on the PlayStation 2. But I do think that if I had an Xbox One and a PS4, the coin toss between both games would be done multiple times before I decided, because it was not an easy choice. Other things from the day, I got to play Sonic Mania for the first time. Why is everyone calling that the best 2D Sonic? It felt like a fan reskin of everything else. Oh, let's throw in the spin move from Sonic 2 and 3 in the Sonic 1 levels. Let's redo that alien craft thing in 3D and try to make the graphics like the Sega Saturn 3D World demo from Sonic Blast. Oh, let's have when you get on a springboard, it does the spinning corkscrew like you're playing Sonic CD. It wasn't needed. It didn't feel any different. I said to myself it was fun, but I might as well just go and play Sonic 1, 2, 3 and Knuckles on the original game consoles or on the many re-releases that happened on the Mega Drive and Ultimate Mega Drive and Sonic Mega collections years ago. It didn't really feel like it brought anything new to the table. Very, very disappointed with that, to say the least. Also got to have a crack at quite a few indie titles, one of which I thought was really good, which I can't remember the name of it, but it was a top-down dungeon crawler where the world was multiple hexagons and you clicked each hexagon to move, and you then had to pick up treasures and enemies would start following you, and it was kind of like a cross between an old-school top-down RPG and chess. That might sound like a horrible mismatch, like Skittles and fish, but it's not. It was actually a lot of fun. I really enjoyed playing it, and I hope that I can track down who the developer was and find out how to get a copy, because I really, really liked it. I also played a horrible pre-alpha racing game. I think it was called Summit GT. It had graphics that were a mishmash of Virtua Racing and Daytona USA, and physics where I flung a car high speed into a corner and it barrel rolled. It didn't understeer, it didn't, spin out, it didn't, lose speed or anything like that. No, it just went, and I was over in the next county doing 19 barrel rolls. Big thumbs down. It's pre-alpha, so it has a long way to go. And by that, I mean a very long way to go. It's not quite big rigs over the road racing bad, but it's in that kind of ballpark. Not a good start. Chris got to play a really rather bizarre looking game called Flashing Lights, which was a police, fire and ambulance simulator, but in a kind of GTA kind of environment. While I like the idea of a GTA-style world where you play the emergency services, I'd much rather Rockstar had a go at it and made it properly, because this was very, very poor. The graphics were no better than Sega Dreamcast. That's being generous. I won't say they were Saturn bad, but they were in between those steps in generations. They didn't really feel like there was much going on. The city felt very empty. The physics, again, seemed very inconsistent. This hopefully is an alpha build, and there's a long way to go. They did say they wanted to get support on Kickstarter, so maybe there's much more to come from it. But for now, again, it's not the best of starts, but it played stable at least. So who knows, maybe they've got a decent foundation to build from. We did see a queue for Star Wars Battlefront 2, Destiny 2, Assassin's Creed Origins, and Far Cry 5. We didn't play any of them because all those queues were at least 2 hours long. They were absolutely gigantic. And I'll be honest, none of those games really take my fancy. None of them really make me go, yes, I must have that game. So I passed on the opportunity to go for them. If you call me stupid in the comments, that's fine, maybe I was. But all I'll say is I didn't really care for it, and therefore I wasn't that bothered. I played Minecraft for the first time today. Yes, until today I'd never played Minecraft. I don't see the fuss myself, it's not something I'm that interested in. The idea of building your own world and doing what you want in it is cool. But I think I'm just someone who likes too much of a narrative and too much of what's going on. I'd much rather, play my game. I just didn't think it was much of a game for me. But I know that I'm one of a very, 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 very small minority on that, because of the sheer amount of Minecraft ports, releases and merchandise. So I know damn well that I'm very much in the minnows of it. So, hey-ho. The retro section they had was excellent this year. They had a brilliant retro section. They had a mix of arcade cabinets, pinball machines, Dreamcasts, NESs, Master Systems, Mega Drives, SNESs, N64s, GameCubes, PS1s, PS2s, Xbox Originals, the Commodore 64s, Commodore Amigas, Philips CDIs, Atari Jaguars. They even had Turbo Graphics consoles there, which I didn't even know came out over here, the two PC engines. So if you wanted to see a test of gaming throughout its history, that spot alone made it worth the entry. It was like the Play Expos that happened in the likes of Leeds, Manchester and Blackpool on a bigger scale with a bit more going on. There were two cabinets I wanted to try, and I only got to try one of them, sadly. I'll take you through the one I didn't get to try, which was the hydraulic afterburner. Yes, the classic arcade flight sim, I'll use in very big inverted commas because it's about as simulated as GTA is of a real world gang crime. But I will say that the cabinet was amazing because you'd see it on the outside tilting in one direction, but the screen would go against it. So if you did barrel rolls, you had like a weird double movement going on at the same time. It must have been very disorientating for the people. And the one I did try though, which I hadn't ever played until today, the original Outrun in a cabinet with the movement. It was brilliant. Going around corners and then suddenly having the car swing and lean. I've played the Outrun 2 that did that when the Trocadero had Fun Zone back in London, but the original Outrun hydraulic cabinet I'd never played before until today. Despite that game being 31 years old, I adored it, and I would have happily sat in that cabinet all day. And apparently, according to Laura, Craig Charles and the guy from the Gadget Show did some kind of video there about it. So maybe on Channel 5 or wherever it's broadcast these days, we might see some footage of that. It'd be nice. Speaking of the odd, Chris got to play a VR game called House Mouse, where it was a VR game that you were a mouse, trying to scrounge food and avoid cats. I don't really have much I can comment on this, I've never tried it myself, but it did have a very strange glitch where the right eye would black out for no reason. So it made you feel like you're going blind. That's a bit of a problem that you need to iron out quickly. I did think he was having fun with it, but I really don't know. A VR game where you play a mouse. You know, in virtual reality, you want to be the assassin on the front row sniping people. You want to be the great hero with sword saving the princess. You want to be at the wheel of a 250-mile-an-hour supercar. Or you can be a mouse trying to scrounge cheese. What? Why? Just what? I don't understand. I really don't get it. While we were there as well, we did get to have some funny pictures taken. The Shadow of Mordor had a huge dragon that you could climb on and get a picture. There's a picture of that on my Twitter account, @SSWishbone. You can follow there and see all those amazing hijinks. We saw a giant oversized version of a GT Omega racing chair, which looked absolutely awesome. There was a Sonic statue to be taken pictures with, and generally had a lot of that stuff there as well. There was some very cool cosplay going on. There was a woman who we saw in the car park dressed as Tifa from Final Fantasy VII. She was very good. There was a mother dressed as Chun-Li pushing a baby around in a pram. That baby must have been a bit confused by the end of the day, but needless to say, it was awesome to see her rocking up and having some fun. There was actually a cosplay area where, like, you know, the artist talks about makeup and everything else, so that was good if you're into the cosplay scene. I'm a closet cosplay person, I've not got any outfits yet, but maybe in the future you'll be able to see a very special one. I'm not saying exactly which either, it will be a big surprise. Don't spoil it in the comments, Chris. You have been warned. You won't want to. But all in all, EGX was a great event. I would say it's worth getting the priority tickets because my friends without me knowing got them, so I ordered mine afterwards and got the regular, so I went in an hour after they did. Well, more like 20 minutes after the travel time I had in the car. It would have been nice to be able to get straight in, purely because it meant if you did want to go for the AAA games, you'd have had a much better chance of getting in there and seeing them without waiting a long time. If you wanted to get on the classic arcade machines that were very, very popular, like the pinball machines for some reason, were never ever empty, and it's the first time I've seen that. So if you wanted to do anything like that, it was much easier. If there were any slots at the VR sessions that weren't booked, you'd have had a much better chance of getting them. But in general, the only negatives I'd say to EGX is a lot of the internal facilities were very, very expensive, and you expect that at an arena. But it was disappointing to see a JD Wetherspoon doubling its prices purely because it was inside a convention centre. That was very much a fleecing the public kind of thing. Yes, you knew what you were getting, but it was either that or risk something out of the back of a streetcar that probably would have cost no cheaper. That was my one real gripe with it, and that's in general, that's the only gripe I had. It was well staffed, the people were very polite, getting in was no problem. Even back checks were going on right at the start and it didn't seem to slow people up too much. Parking, actually, that's another feedback I'll give them. But I don't know whether to say good or bad. Essentially, when you get to EGX, you go to the NEC Arena car park, you pull in and you pick your space and off you go. Then you go past a booth where you can buy a parking pass. It was £12 for the day. That's a fucking rip. They must have made a fortune today off that. They must have made at least 10k, maybe even 20k. They made a lot of cash out of that today. They really did, and it was an absolute rip-off. So yeah, it's bad feedback. I've decided. But once you got inside, you come out and then you left. Now, they said they recommended getting your parking ticket before you went in because there'd be a big queue. Now, we decided not to do that. We thought we'd get it at the end because we expected everyone to have queued and it would have been easy to get our tickets. And we got there and there was a small queue, but not a very big one. And then the shutter came down. She just went, pay at the exit, and pulled the shutter down. Basically, I've had enough of you freaks, I'm fucking off home. So that was very bad, because we were like, well, what we're supposed to do? We've not got a parking pass. What are we supposed to do now? And she said pay at the exit, but do the exit people know? Fortunately, they did. It was literally a case of, I need to pay. Yeah, let me give you a receipt. Done. So why not just do that instead of having a booth in the future? It was brilliant. The fee was shit. That was very, very expensive. It was literally £4 a head if you had a car of 4 people. Well, no, £3 a head, sorry. £3 a head if you have 4 people. That's a thumbs down. That's very bad. But to get straight out by paying was very good. Don't know which side of the fence to fall on. It was cheap as well. If you're a Virgin Media subscriber, you got a half price. I didn't. And I'm not going to say any more about Virgin Media because I've got a very, very big beef against them. However, my friends did, and they really got the tickets cheap. Even full price tickets were like £19. It's not a lot for what you get. There was a chat with all the meet and greets, the new games, AAA games included. The fact that we got to play the Xbox One X, which I don't know if it's the first time it's been on display here in the UK or not, but we got to play it. And it was also just generally a very good vibe, very good atmosphere with the people there. It was a lot of fun, a lot of engagement. In all, I recommend it, and it'd be something I'd definitely do again. The only thing that will make an event like this sour is whether the year for gaming is good or bad. That's the thing. It's like with movies. If you go to the Cannes Film Festival, have great directors wrapped on films or shit directors wrapped on films? Are you going to see Tommy Wiseau or are you going to see James Cameron? Yeah, that's the kind of thing that the melodrama there might make it go either way. But in short, in conclusion, great fun. Really recommended event, great day out, A+ all round.